Hello, this is Igoro, host of the Igoro Show, and you are listening to the Steve and Crypto Show. So keep your ears open and your mouth shut.
Welcome to the Steve and Crypto Show, presented by thestevestrout.com. I'm Steve.
I'm Crypto Zoo. It's episode 67. And again, it's a rhyme-free episode.
It feels good to not have a stupid rhyme.
But
yeah, 67 episodes. That's pretty good, man. I'm impressed
I hope
with
you
this.
guys are, I'm impressed with that too. I hope that all you guys are okay with having a rhyme-free episode again.
I'm sure they're fine.
Let us know. I want you to write us. Let us know online if you really want the rhymes back. I want to hear about it. If you're fine without them.
Not to speak for all the listeners, but I'm gonna write you. I'll write you on their behalf, and I will be your spokesperson.
They're like, thank you,
and let him know that you're happy without the rhymes. You like it without the rhymes.
There's someone out there like, you shut your mouth, Steve. Yeah. You let him do it. Let him rhyme.
I'd listen for the rhymes. No, they don't.
Like, I'm going to say it again for the second time. Let him rhyme. Ooh.
But holy shit, 67. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But that means we're still doing this. People are still coming back and listening. And hopefully you're enjoying it. And if you are, please visit our Patreon page. Support the show, patreon.com/SteveCrypto. Pledge a little something. You could pick your own price, and we've been putting up videos. We're giving you guys first dibs on videos before they go public for a couple weeks. Short episodes. I'm going to be uploading a little a teaser clip from a horror host named Lord Bloodraw. That's going to go up soon because he is our first guest in the horror host series that we're sort of launching very soon. Yeah, man, it's doing good. Visit patreon.com/SteveCrypto. It helps the show immensely. Helps us grow. It helps us improve everything. The gear, it helps us. Eventually, we'd like to maybe advertise a little bit, try to get in more ears and spread the word more. Because it's good things have been happening lately, and it's because of you guys. And so let's keep the good things going.
Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys who are interacting with us online. For anybody who wishes to connect with us a little bit more, you can find us on Facebook through our podcast group, just the Steve and Crypto Show. Just look that up and you'll be able to find us. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just join the group, and you can contribute if you like. There's lots of fun content in there. There's plenty of stuff that's related to the show. There's some stuff that's just thrown in for fun. If we get bits of news, sometimes we'll throw it in there, and maybe a little hints as to guests that we might have along the way, things like that. We post videos and whatnot. But anyway, just join the group and come, see what that's all about. Also, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at CryptoZoo88, at the Steve Strout. And we
very interactive there.
Yeah, I mean,
very interactive.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of stuck on words here for a second. I'm kind of surprised in a way. We recently had some fun news that was brought to us, and I mean, we're small fish in a giant podcast pond, and there's a lot of entertainers out there. There's a lot of content creators out there, and so I mean, at least for me, I'm not really used to being included in a lot of things or accepted and or nominated for anything. But I'm going to let Steve here tell you guys what the Steve and Crypto Show was recently nominated for.
Well, you know what? We're gonna let him wait a moment before I tell him that. Let's tell him
Okay.
what we did last week and what we got coming up this week, and then we'll tell him about that.
Last week, episode 66, we had a conversation with a artist, entrepreneur, hip hop artist from Kansas City. One of many people we actually talked to from Kansas City area, ironically.
Yeah, it's weird, huh?
And he goes by the name Standish. So he runs a lot of different accounts online. He makes his own music. He has a lot of connections in a lot of different areas. He's a very busy guy and seems to spin a lot of plates. So we had a talk with him just about, how he has connections to horror, and listen in and you'll find that out. He has a connection to Run DMC. There's a lot of different lanes that he is in. So it's a fun listen. Go back and check that out.
And we also reviewed that Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie a little bit.
Oh yeah,
that people are kind of torn on that one, which understandably so. Yeah, that was last week, and there's a little bit more we talked about. I can't remember because I'm old.
I think one thing I can say real quick about the Chainsaw Massacre film that not all of us, but a lot of us do agree on is the kills are good.
Yes,
that seems to be like the one common thing that a lot of people are saying.
It's worth watching for that alone.
Yeah.
And
anyway.
Everybody fucking has Netflix anyway, so just watch it. Don't listen everybody telling you it's bad. I mean, it's not good, but the kills, if you want to see some good kills and gore, then you'll dig that.
You'll at least enjoy that aspect of it. Yeah,
for sure. That was last week. This week we have a nice conversation with a member of the National Society of Film Critics. He's a radio host, and he's a writer. He's another busy guy. We're like busy creator after creator every week. But we have a fellow named Robert Horton, who is a Seattle area film critic, as I mentioned. And he does a series of talks with Scarecrow Video, which is a video store in Seattle, and is considered one of the largest collections of video movies in the world. It's a really cool nonprofit place, and they do a lot of cool things. But he's doing a series of talks called The Art and Sci-Fi, Science Fiction, and the Director, which he covers in a series. I think it's a 10-week series of talks about different classic sci-fi films and the director behind them. And it's really interesting. He's an interesting dude. Listen to the episode later on in this episode when we talk to him, and it's good stuff. You'll hear about it, and you'll probably definitely want to try to jump on and at least catch a few of his episodes. He does Saturday afternoons. They're free. Anybody could register to do it. It's just a Zoom meeting.
There's some great titles on the list too, and it's, they're going to bring up great conversation, and you're probably going to learn some things about these, these films and the directors and the effects that they use. All these, you're going to learn a lot of cool shit that you probably didn't know before.
It's cool. He does the talk, and then he opens the floor for a Q&A and discussion after, which is cool. So get in, find the list, go to Scarecrow Video's website and find the list of the movies that they're showing, and maybe your favorite movie will be on there and you'll want to jump in and join that discussion.
That's one cool thing about Zoom, man. I'm sorry to cut you off. Ahead. That's a cool thing about Zoom is that, like, years ago we didn't have that sort of thing, you couldn't just join in on a Q&A session from home and ask a director a question about a movie that you enjoy. And now it's cool that we have that opportunity.
Right, for sure. So we will talk with Robert here in a few. Obviously, pre-recorded interview from the other day, but it was a really nice, lengthy yet very interesting chat.
Yeah, it was really fun.
So we'll get to that in a few minutes. You said something about some exciting news or something that we mentioned, or something happened in the past week that we were excited about.
A little something happened
about the small fish in the big pond or something.
Yeah.
No,
would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, I guess I'll tell them our little news. Obviously, a lot of people listening probably follow us on social media, and they've seen us blowing everything up about this. But the Stephen Crypto Show was nominated for a Rondo Award. Now, the Rondo Hatton Classic Horror Awards are like it's like the Grammys or Oscars for classic horror for the genre. I mean, it's not on the level and all like the fanfare of that, but fans and people in the whole horror business and even sci-fi appreciate and respect this. It's a respected thing, and it gives you respect, and it's cool, man. We were nominated in the best podcast category. Now, honestly, there's a few shows on there that I would vote for over my own show.
Yeah, we're on a list with a lot of great talent.
The fact that we're on this list with these people is just like, it's a win in itself.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And the fact that we're
that's
nominated,
what I was trying to say.
I'm
like,
kind of. I don't really know what to say, but thanks.
To
everybody for including us.
Thank you guys, and we've already gotten some feedback about people voting. So thank you guys for voting for us. We really appreciate it.
I mean, like I said, I don't have any expectations to win, but if we made a little noise with our little goofy ass show, and we make some noise in this prestigious category, then I am all for it. So you guys love us and want to get us on the map a little bit better, vote for us. Head to rondoaward.com, and there's details there. Or check our social media. We're listing it 370 times a day.
And we're probably going to be mentioning this in every episode up until the Rondo Awards.
Oh, you're going to hear about it. And we're going to talk about the Rondo Awards after.
Oh, yeah.
Too, because we have a lot of friends and acquaintances that are nominated.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so, Dr. Dredd from Dr. Dredd Reviews, he's nominated for the best horror host category.
Lilithon Bloodworth is in there. Andy Goro. Yep.
Igoro, our boy Igoro kicks off every show.
Yep.
Ivana Cadaver hosts in Macabre Theater.
Yep.
On YouTube America. That's a big, it's a nationally syndicated show. She's a good friend of ours, and she's nominated. Past guest, like you mentioned, Lilith, past guest. Igoro is a past guest. Doc Dredd's a past guest. Ivana is going to be a guest. Dr. Gangrene.
Yep.
Horror Host Hall of Famer, past guest. We're kicking off the Horror Host series with Lord Blooddraw, who is also a nominee.
That's right.
And he is also a Horror Host Hall of Famer. So it's like, we have a lot of cool friends that we've made through this podcast, and I thank all of them. And there's so many more people I can't even think off the top of my head to name. But I thank everybody for helping us get this honor. I know when we started the show, I was like, Caleb or Crypto, this is one of the things I want.
Yeah.
I want to be nominated for this fucking award. And shit, here we are.
Only a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
And honestly, like I just didn't think that it was going to happen, just how there's so many podcasts out there and so many great shows that, have been doing it for a while. And so it feels really good. Like I was trying to say earlier, not really used to like being picked for things or being nominated or whatever. So Like,
We're
I don't even
we're
care
tired.
if we win.
We're not the fat kid in gym class anymore.
I was never, wasn't the popular kid or anything like that. So like, it feels cool to like kind of feel like we're in a little group, and like these are our people that we, like this is a community that we are a part of, and we do like, we proudly wear that horror badge on our sleeves and that horror community. And we thank all you guys that are listening and that follow us.
What's the wildest shit is like on this whole ballot, there's so many amazing creators. Like I want everybody that decides to vote, take the time to look through the ballot. It's a kind of a lengthy, little bit time consuming process to vote. You don't have to vote in every category. You do have to vote for the Steven Crypto Show. Don't add out there. But no, seriously, vote for who you feel deserves it. But I mean, it won't hurt to vote for your third favorite podcast. But that whole ballot, you look through it, and there's people like fucking Svengoolie and Joe Bob Briggs and like Elvira. You know what I mean? This is like crazy that we're on a list with all these people. Like, what the fuck? Like,
it's an honor, really.
It's nutty.
Yeah, and also, it's nice to be a part of it, and I'm glad that people are actually spreading it around online for us too. Like we're posting as much as we can, and we're trying to get the word out there. But it's also cool to see like the Mutant fam is actually, the Mutant fam has tagged us and they're sharing it, and it just feels nice to kind of be acknowledged here.
Well, so let's make some noise in this thing. So go vote Steven Crypto Show.
Yep. Even if you decide to just put a couple categories in and say, best TV show, this, best podcast, this, you can take a couple of them. You don't have to do the whole list.
Follow your heart as long as your heart leads to the Steven Crypto Show. And that's it. We'll remind you guys. Don't worry. We'll remind you guys every week. Other than that, there ain't really been much happening this week. News-wise, Shout Factory, I guess they got the rights to Alf, and they're teasing that they're gonna fucking make new content. So I could get with some new Alf episodes, or maybe even a movie. That would be sick too.
I'm so excited to hear that my favorite pussy-eating alien is
you just been waiting
possibly
to say that.
Coming back.
You've been waiting to say
that. He's coming back, man. I'm excited. Honestly, like that was the first show that I ever really watched and knew what I was watching. When you hit a certain age, you're able to process it.
Yeah.
When I was 2, 3, whatever. That's the first show that I really remember. I was in the hospital, I think, having surgery on my leg or my foot or something like that. And I remember watching Alf. And I had the puppets back in the day, like the ones you could get at Burger King, I think.
Yep, they're little hand puppets. Yep. I remember those.
Little leather jacket and one with the Hawaiian shirt. And
good old Gordon Shumway. What else? I went and watched the Foo Fighters movie, Studio 666.
I'm jealous.
You guys fucking go watch this movie. It was like very tongue-in-cheek kind of comedy, like the Foo Fighters kind of poking fun at themselves because they know they're not amazing actors. And they had fun with it and they fucking ran with it. And this is like, if they weren't this, iconic rock band playing these roles and regular actors play these roles the way they did, you wouldn't take it as seriously. I mean, you would not like it. It's weird. Like, I feel like I'm not supposed to like this movie, but I fucking loved it. If that makes sense. You're watching a movie that you're like, I should not like this, but I fucking adore this immensely.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say too much. Give people a chance to see it. It just came out. Go see it. Studio 666. Lots of really cool fucking cameos. I mean, you can obviously look up the cast on IMDb and see like Carrie King from Slayer in there, and
I see Whitney Cummings is in it, right?
she's regular cast. She's really good in this too. She's funny.
Yeah. I saw a little video on her Instagram or something like that of her putting the contacts in for a scene. Yeah, little behind the scenes clip of that.
Gory too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's gore. It's very like you mentioned, it's very Evil Dead.
It looks like it's got some Evil Dead elements to it, which makes me really excited to check it out.
It's good, man. I laughed my ass off, and I loved the kill scenes and stuff in it. So do it.
I don't know if I'm going to get a chance to go see it in theaters anytime soon, but I mean, as soon as it's streaming, I'm going to watch it.
Anybody who can, go see it.
What you can all watch right now, speaking of Foo Fighters and Dave Grohl, Dave is on the newest episode of Hot Ones. So check that out.
The wing eating show, right? When they eat levels. Okay.
Yep. Check that out on YouTube.
Does he hype this at all in it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They definitely talk about it.
So this whole thing this appearance was like a press tour.
Yeah, to promote that
publicity thing for that. Okay.
It was his very first time on Hot Ones, and Sean Evans even told him that he is one of the top most requested guests that they have. Really? A lot of people have asked to have.
That just shows that he has like a reputation as being just a good guy.
I've read so many things about him being, they say like Dave Grohl, nicest guy in rock and roll music today or whatever. Like I believe it. I really do. He seems like such a cool guy, and definitely one of my favorite drummers. Like, and he's not always like super technical, but it's his feel, and that's something that he talks about in the Hot Ones interview. Actually, it's like they bring up the feeling of drummers, and like how he says that like you know certain guys when you hear them.
Yeah,
like you don't have to see it in credits. Like you just know, like. I hear Dave on certain songs. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely his playing.
Right. I think the Rondo thing is huge for us, but you kind of have a big personal news at your family. You guys got a freaking dog.
Yeah.
You guys rescued a dog, which is even cooler.
Yeah. I will be 34.
Crypto got his first doggy.
Yeah, I will be 34 next month, and I have never had a dog before. And, my mom was allergic to cats and allergic to just pet hair in general, So, and anytime I asked for one, they always gave me this long spiel of everything I would have to do. And when you're a kid, it becomes less. You
can't even wipe your own ass and you want to clean up after a dog.
It became less and less appealing when you're a kid. Like, nah, I don't want to do all that. But anyway, we found her out in Squim at the Humane Society. She is 70 dog years old. So she's an old lady. We were told her name was Demi, but once we were there and the guy at the desk was looking through all the paperwork, he was like, oh, this is kind of weird. It says here her name is Allie. So that's what we've been going with. She responds to Allie. She doesn't really respond much to Demi, even though I really want to call her Demi Dog. But she's pretty chill for the most part. Good dog. She's only barked when the doorbell rang. Doesn't jump up on you or anything. Like she's my kind of dog, like super chill. Kind of always told myself if I got one, I want like a old dog is just going to hang out with me. You don't want
some high maintenance fucking.
No, you barely even know she's here, honestly. Like she just chills and lays on her dog bed and that's it.
Nice. Well, that's cool, man. Yeah. Well, congrats to you guys. That's exciting.
Thanks.
Let's get to our chat with Robert Horton. And when we get back, we'll throw in our weekly horror trivia. I got an interesting little question here that hopefully you guys know.
Even I don't know it yet.
Yeah, there you go. So check out this chat with Robert Horton and make sure you go sign up for his series, Scarecrow Video.
Hey, horror and pop culture fans. This is actress Elise Costin from Interfere 2 and After Hours Cinema, and you are listening to The Steve and Crypto Show.
check out these shows available now on Fearflix.
And welcome to another collection of frightfully good films from Fearflix, Gothic Horrors, with me, your host, Malvolia, the Queen of Screams.
Hey, I'm Pamela Such. You know me from all the Wave movies. And here we are, we're going to play Curse of the Swamp Creature 2.
Hello guys, I'm Rachel Waits.
And I'm Elise Costin.
Welcome to Silent Screams.
I'm Pamela Such.
I'm Monica Hayes. Thank you for tuning in to 70s Grind Out on Fearflix.
Hey y'all, I'm Sherry Davis, your host for this wild and untamed collection of horror films from Fearflix. We wrangled up a selection of Texas horrors for this one. Welcome to Lone Star Horrors.
These shows, movies, and much more available now on Fearflix. Download it on your Roku channel store today.
Hey, we're on the Steve and Crypto Show with a special guest, an old friend of mine. I didn't mean to say old twice. Sorry. But yeah, he's a friend of mine I met years ago on the comic book scene, because my first introduction to him, he wrote a comic. He co-wrote a comic with a mutual friend, the comic called Rotten. And it was a cool old, like a Western zombie comic. And I had heard about him, and our mutual friend was like, he's a film critic, and he does these great talks and everything. Check him out. And I looked into him, and at the time he was doing a talk, I believe it was about might have been UFO movies. And when we did our very first comic book swap meet, he came and joined us in our little my buddy's cafe where we did the first swap meet, and did his show, and we set up his slideshow and talked in front of a nice little intimate crowd, and it was a great time. It was fun. So we have like I said, he's a film critic. He's written for the Seattle Weekly, the Daily Herald up in Everett, Washington. He's a member of the National Society of Film Critics, and he is the host of his own radio show called The Music and the Movies, which he'll tell us about here in a few. We have Robert Horton hanging out with us. How are you doing, sir?
Hi, I'm doing good. Yeah, that was great. The time I came up and we were talking about flying saucer movies of the 1950s, and it was really fun. Cool. And kind of talking about how they sort of reflected the Cold War, anxieties of that era,
right?
Coming out in science fiction films. So it was a fun talk.
I wish I could have been there for that.
I like how your talks are they kind of show the relation between, like you say, the flying saucers in the Cold War era, or your Frankenstein book. You kind of correlate the impact on pop culture through the book.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah. And I guess that's also what my co-writer Mark Ronner, who you were just mentioning, and we were also doing that with Rotten, because the idea was kind of to take this Western zombie scenario and sort of get into social issues and issues of the day and current politics, but kind of refract it through zombies and cowboys and stuff, which was great fun.
Right. I think by making it relatable like that, it adds more of an intrigue.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope that's true. Yeah.
And I gotta say, zombies have been, there's so many different versions of zombie tales out there, but there are not very many involving cowboys. So it's cool that you went that direction.
Yeah, it was one of those things where you sort of think, gee, what would be like two of my favorite things to blend together? And so I don't know. As a film critic, I'm a big Westerns fan. I kind of grew up watching Westerns and zombies. Yes, obviously, I like those too. So why not put them together?
Do you have a favorite film from both genres, a favorite zombie, a favorite Western?
Oh gosh, what is my favorite Western? My favorite Western is probably a John Wayne film from 1959 called Rio Bravo, which is a really a great one, directed by Howard Hawks, and it's really a leisurely Western. It's kind of interesting. It doesn't have a whole lot of action, but it's just really it's what Quentin Tarantino, when he talks about hangout movies, that's one of the movies that I think he cites as one of his favorite hangout movies, because you don't care about the plot. You're just like, you enjoy spending time with these characters, you know, the way that Tarantino defines it that way. Zombie movie, gosh. Well, you know, I love, there's a film from the 40s, I Walked with a Zombie, that is a great Hollywood, kind of classic era Hollywood horror film that's quite poetic. I don't know if have you guys seen that film?
No.
Yeah, I Walked with a Zombie, very low budget and kind of really beautifully done. Lots of mysterioso going on, and yeah, I like that. What's your favorite zombie movie?
Well, mine is the Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. It's hard to top.
Romero's
Yeah,
Night of
yeah.
the Living Dead. Yeah,
That's got to be right at the top.
That's up there for me.
I think one for me, I'll just say the first one that comes to mind is Dawn of the Dead. I like the whole idea of them.
No, are you talking the original one?
I like the original, and I do like the remake. The remake is probably one of my favorite horror remakes out there. I do enjoy it.
Yeah,
I like them being stuck in a mall.
Yeah, the remake was. I mean, I was skeptical because I loved Dawn of the Dead, but yeah, it was a respectable, you know, got the job done. Kind of it did some interesting twists. So yeah, I can't argue with that.
Right. So we mentioned the talks and conversations that you do. You are currently doing a series, the End Humanities Talk. Is that what you called it?
I'm doing a talk for the Humanities Washington program, which gets people like me to present a particular talk, and then we keep, well, in normal times, we would travel around the state of Washington and give it. Right now, it's pretty much all on Zoom for different entities that want to host us. And that is also, that's science fiction related. It's called This Is the End, How the Movies Prepared Us for the Apocalypse. And so I talk about a bunch of, end of the world movies, which is a genre I've always loved. And what I try to do is to talk about how that kind of predicted our response to the pandemic. You know, people turning on each other and bad vibes all around and disorganization and everything else, and kind of look at movies and see how they really pretty much anticipated what was going to happen. And we talk about a couple of like pandemic movies that you can probably think of, like Contagion, but also use it as kind of a metaphor, like atomic Holocaust movies or big disaster films like The Day After Tomorrow or whatever. Because it's all kind of showing how do we respond to the end of the world if it's coming, and we know it's coming, and do we get together and work together, or does it really not work out too well? So I thought it would be an interesting way to maybe get people, well, for one thing, to talk about this. I just love apocalyptic films, but also to maybe get people to talk about their own experiences in the pandemic, and that's how it's been working out so far. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
That sounds really fun.
It is. Is this going to be available for the public to join, or is this like a private group thing? Or?
No. Yeah, this is it's free, and I do it about once a month or so, and post links on my website, which is roberthorton.wordpress.com, or you can look at the Humanities Washington website, and they list all of their speakers and what the events are.
Right, so
do you enjoy doing that in a Zoom format? Are you okay with it, or would you prefer to be in front of a big audience for such a event?
I would prefer to be in the audience. Yeah, it is fun to meet people, you know, because it kind of takes you out of your comfort zone. You start traveling around to all corners of the state, as they say. So that's really fun. The Zoom thing has turned out to be pretty good because my thought is you probably get people who wouldn't show up to I don't know. I mean, anybody can show up if you have challenges or if you're disabled or I don't know, you can just tap in and attend
right.
And I don't know what you guys think, but Zoom, it sometimes allows for you get a really good experience. Like I can tell sometimes that you get people who maybe would not be the kind of people who would raise their hands in a crowd and just, just launch into something because they're shy or whatever. But maybe on Zoom they'll get in there. At least they'll put something in the chat that's a question that they have, whatever. I'm not down with it.
Yeah.
In the sense of being against it.
And you don't have to wear shoes.
Don't have to wear shoes. Yeah.
Yeah. You can bring your cat.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
Your cat. There it is.
Yes.
That's the key right there. You can bring your cat along.
I have
Cats
had the
allowed.
cat chime in occasionally during one of these things. Yeah.
Right. That's good.
But that's just that's reality. I'm in favor of that coming into it.
So we'll make sure to get a link up to your site so people could find out more about that particular talk and when they could catch it and see.
Yeah, cool.
Right now the main thing we want to talk about is the new your next Scarecrow video series, and it's going to be about sci-fi and directors.
Exactly.
It's you got like a 2-month long run going with that. How do you what's your criteria for picking this list of movies and directors?
Yeah, that's a good question to start with, actually, because it maybe requires some explanation. This thing that we have going, and this is the 4th year that we've been doing it with Scarecrow, is called Scarecrow Academy. And so it's not really going to school, but we sort of try to take that format a little bit. And I should probably say that in previous years we've done, like, we did a horror movie emphasis one year, and then film noir was last year. So we decided to go science fiction, so how I select them, the emphasis for the quote unquote semester is that we talk about science fiction films and specifically through the lens of what a director does. So I put a big emphasis on, like, how did the director create this scene? Why is this shot look like this? And how does that advance the story or create the mood, or really sort of get into the nuts and bolts of it? And so the 10 movies that I picked are it's not meant to be like, these are the 10 best science fiction films. It's meant to be, here are 10 interesting directors that we think would be really kind of fun to talk about and mix it up about, and in some cases maybe introduce people to if they're not familiar with them, and here's their work in science fiction. So you have some people that we would maybe associate with science fiction in general, like Steven Spielberg, comes back periodically to doing sci-fi film. And we're going to do Close Encounters in this one. But you also have, famous directors like Fritz Lang or Stanley Kubrick, who may have not delved into science fiction that much, but in the case of Kubrick, obviously he made 2001: A Space Odyssey, and one of the greatest films ever made. And so that was a no-brainer as one to include. So it's definitely, the list is really director oriented, I would say. So that's why, if you're looking at it and you think, why didn't you show this particular film, it might be because I I just didn't, maybe I couldn't think of a way of talking about that director, or I don't know what, but that's where we started. We started with this. And I'm just looking at my list now as we're talking so that I can remind myself of what we've got. Like, for instance, we've got a couple of great international directors who are not associated with science fiction, but they coincided with it a couple of times, and so I thought it would be really cool to talk about it. And one of them is the great, amazing Soviet director Andrei Tarkovsky, and he made Solaris, later remade in Hollywood with George Clooney and Steven Soderbergh, and the Tarkovsky Solaris is really a mind trip, wonderful film. And then another one of my favorite directors is Francois Truffaut, director of the French New Wave in the 60s. And I don't think he did much else with science fiction, but he made the film of Fahrenheit 451, the great Ray Bradbury novel in 1966. And that's a movie I'm really looking forward to talking about, because it's a film that the people who like there are science fiction people who don't like that film very much. And then there are like Francois Truffaut fans who don't really like the film very much from either perspective, but I've always liked it. And I think it's a very interesting film. And so, I wanted to make sure that one got in there so that we could hopefully mix it up and have people have differing opinions on it, because that's kind of what it all comes down to when we get together. What do you guys think of this list? What do you think? Is there something that needs to be there that isn't there or something?
I think you have a pretty good wide spectrum. I think the thing that stood out to me is, like I said, that wide spectrum. You start with Metropolis, Fritz Lang, like that's considered one of the first pieces of sci-fi film, all the way up to stuff going now, just like you said, Spielberg, John Carpenter, somebody that you'd think John Carpenter right off the bat, you don't think sci-fi.
But he made one of my favorite movies, and that's The Thing. Right? Yeah. Definitely has its horror elements in there, but that's full on sci-fi.
Yeah. And I think you were doing which Carpenter film were you doing? Are you doing They Live?
We're doing They Live. Yep. It's funny. Sometimes the definition is sort of flexible. So when we did our horror and the director series, I actually put in The Thing, the Carpenter Thing in that one. I also did the earlier Thing, directed by Howard Hawks, because I thought it would be fun to contrast those. Of course, they are also science fiction as well as horror. So that was the thing there. But I thought, I taught a science fiction class at Seattle University about 10 years ago, and I think I put They Live into that one. And there was something, we just had a great conversation in the classroom about that, I remember. And so I thought, okay, I'll that will be the Carpenter choice for this one,
There's a lot of layers to that movie.
Oh yeah. It's so crazy, but it's got a lot of ideas in it too. And we're going to have fun with that one. And then, you look at the last, well, for one thing, I should say, if this goes well, maybe we'll do another science fiction series in the fall, because that's the way we've been doing it. One set early in the year and then another set in the fall. So maybe we'll pick up some of the movies we left out. But for the last 20 years or so, the ones that I picked for this series were Children of Men and then Under the Skin. And so those are very, I think, very distinctive directors. And again, I was just thinking of like, what would give you a lot to talk about? And you think of Children of Men and all those incredible long take camera shots that are in that movie, that are just you can't believe how they pulled this stuff off. And then Under the Skin has it's almost I don't want to say that. I mean, it's a science fiction film. It's about an alien and coming to Earth, but it's also kind of, I don't know, you almost forget it's science fiction at times or something, or it becomes this complete kind of enigmatic mystery. But I just thought that would be, I don't know, it kind of spoke to me as something that would give a different perspective on talking about science fiction, I guess. When you put it at the end of all these other films. So
how, I'm sure when you were compiling this list of films or directors you're going to cover, were there any that were kind of like on the fence about including on the list? I'm sure your list was probably longer than what you scheduled.
Yeah. I was. It was hard to choose, because there are a lot of other good examples. And I mean, I was thinking when I was teaching this class at Seattle University, I remember I wanted to do a Spielberg film. And so the one that I finally, now that I think of it, there was this other guy who had been teaching a class in Spielberg, and it was like the quarter before I was teaching, and he had done Close Encounters. And so I thought, well, I won't do Close Encounters, but he had not done AI. And I thought, oh, I'm going to do that, because that kind of divides people. I think that movie, there are people who don't like it at all, and people who really love it. And so we taught AI in the classroom, and that's the way it went down, is that some of the students just thought, they didn't like it at all. Some people liked it, but it turned out to be a really fantastic conversation, in that way that people start listening to each other. And, even when they disagree, it sort of creates some interesting talk. But the reason I didn't pick it for this list is I really love Close Encounters, and I kind of wanted the excuse to watch it again and to bring it up. And I'm looking at the list, and it's kind of in a way representing the 70s too, because part of the variety I wanted to get was to get something from, like we start with the silent era, and then we come up all the way to the 21st century. So I wanted to make sure we got some 70s sci-fi in there, and Close Encounters fit the bill there. And you only have so many slots, so I don't know. It was a tough call. I know I showed the first Star Wars movie when I was teaching this class at Seattle U, but maybe we'll include some Star Wars, and if we do it again in the fall too.
Yeah, it's of course the original trilogy, right?
Yeah, I think we're talking
like no Jar Jar Binks involved.
No, yeah. Unless you want to make a real good case for the Phantom Menace. I'm all ears if you want to. But, yeah.
What not to kind of go off topic. What have you thought of the spin-off series that they've put on Disney Plus? If you've checked them out, based on the Star Wars stuff.
I haven't checked them out. I haven't got. I haven't gotten Disney Plus even yet. Mostly because my sort of world has been crowded last couple of years with movies and other stuff. But I'm trying to think if I've caught up or stayed up to date with anything. I don't think I have. Yeah. What's your favorite part of that world, of those extensions?
Mandalorian for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Book of Boba Fett was really fun too. It's hard to even. I want to say it's hard to pick between the two, but yeah, Mandalorian. I think that's a really fun series.
I feel like they kind of blurred the line between the shows so much.
They did, yeah.
During the Boba Fett series, that it's kind of all the same show. They did a really good job with it, but
and when you finally, if you ever get a chance to watching them, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's really the Grogu show.
I mean, Disney kind of had to cute it up a little bit to expand that audience,
Oh yeah.
Oh, Disney, they own everything.
Well, that's our future, I guess. Yeah.
Disney and Amazon. I'm still waiting for the battle for supremacy between Disney and Amazon.
I told Steve eventually they're going to own this show too.
Yeah. I mean, if they could have it if they want to pay me.
Yeah.
Be my guest.
If somebody's listening, yeah.
I'd love to retire right now.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be nice.
They may be listening to everything we do, right? Already.
They probably are. Yeah.
I love Disney.
I'm sure Amazon got ears out there. So we've talked about how you pick these movies. How much prep time does it take you to get each individual film prepared, like your notes and whatnot for?
I always watch the movie before we have our class sessions watched again. In most cases they're movies I've seen a few times already, and in some cases that I've already gotten notes on them because I may have taught them before. Some of these films I've actually taught in classrooms, and I always keep my old notes. So I got a big file cabinet of things, and I mean literally on paper, like old physical media type stuff. So I get those out and I always scan those and watch it again, make some new notes. I try to, each session is a little different, but I often talk at the beginning, and I try to give some background on that director and what he or she may be known for. And then usually I show a couple of clips because that's, a good way, since we're kind of going pretty granular, it's a good way to like put something on screen so people can see, okay, this is what we mean when we talk about like the composition of this shot, what's going on there and why is this that way, and then when it moves, or what, why is it cut fast together or not cut at all if it's a long shot, or whatever it is you're talking about. So I often have a couple of clips that we show. And
does that require getting any kind of rights or anything, or is there like a certain amount of time you could share because it's a lecture or for educational?
What were we saying about Disney listening into us here? They in particular have been very sensitive about all that sort of thing for many years, decades even. Well, in our case, because it's, it is, I think we get a pass for being kind of a classroom type situation, and surrounding these relatively short clips with, educational content, I guess you would say. But it's also not, we don't record the sessions, so they don't have a life beyond this. So it would be like being in a classroom or something like that. People have to sign in, obviously, to get in there. So it's definitely not something I'm worried about at this point.
Right. Out of all these sessions that you've done, do you have like a one that you really favor, or one that you think back on that you really enjoyed, just a particular film with that session, just really that you hold dear?
Wow, it's an interesting question. I can say that there are some times where I wasn't necessarily expecting something really, really big, and for some reason the audience really, or the people, it's not an audience, it's a group, it's a kind of little community that we get going. People really respond to the movie, and actually I can think of one now that you brought it up. We were talking about film noir last year, and I chose, one of the films I chose was a movie directed by Ida Lupino, a classic era actress who was one of the few women directing in Hollywood between 1930 and 1970 or so, which is a shame, but that's the way it was. And she made this film called The Hitchhiker, and early 1950s. And it's a really cool film noir, but these two buddies who are going out on a fishing trip, and they just pick up a crazed killer who's on the loose, and he's already killed people, and they have no idea that there's a giant manhunt out for him. And so the whole movie is this suspense film, like, what is he going to kill these guys too, or what's going to happen? And it's really interesting to talk about it, because it would be a cool film noir, but when you think that it's like it's kind of a study of masculinity, and it's directed by a woman. It's directed by a female filmmaker at a time when there weren't that many women directing, and so yeah, I thought it would fit in really well. But the conversation, what was good about it was just the conversation just took off, and people started, and it's this little B movie. It's a very cheap film. But people started to talk about things that they saw in it, all this really charged thing that was going on with there are all these little subtle things about masculine behavior in the movie, and like, do you have to act like this brutal killer to be considered a man, or can you be more like these benign pals who are out on their trip, or whatever. That's really, you hope that when you do things like this, that I was just describing that I start off by giving some background and showing some clips and whatever. And what you hope for is that at a certain point, the thing just starts to take off without you, and that the people start talking, and they start riffing on things and find stuff to talk about. And you can chime in once in a while or whatever, but people come up with really, really great stuff.
It's almost like that you're teaching this, but you actually get something back. Like, you're actually learning from it, which is kind of rewarding.
Yeah, definitely. The people, watching along, they might point things out that, you might not have noticed. And then that just, brings up a whole new conversation. It's great.
Yeah. I really like it when that happens, and when people will come up with some detail, and you just realize, oh man, that's true. And even beyond that kind of specific approach, it's nice to have that sense of community.
Yeah.
We're stuck in a pandemic, and it's when people you can kind of start picking out people's personalities when they come back every week, like in any classroom, but in this case, online. And so, so far we've had really good luck with it. And it's one of those things, if you're not the kind of person who wants to chime in, you can just hang out and take it all in. But we try to make it all very democratic and comfortable for folks to get into it.
Right. I've noticed I've been able to make it to a few of them, and a lot of familiar faces.
Mm-hmm.
You get a lot of repeat customers, so that's interesting. Like you mentioned, the community and stuff. It's that's cool. I like that. So the series starts the first Saturday in March, I believe.
That's correct. First Saturday of March, which is March 5th, and it's at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and it's free. We're putting it out there as I'm a board member at Scarecrow Video, which is a nonprofit. The world's greatest video collection that's publicly accessible. So I'm doing it kind of as a board member, as my contribution to the board, and we're making sure that it's free to people. And all you have to do is, go to Scarecrow's website or Google Scarecrow Academy is sort of the best way to do it. Or you can look at my website, and I'll have the link there or whatever. But
we'll definitely post something about it too we have a Facebook group. We'll mention it in there.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, it seems like you'd have some folks who could really get into it, and that's the spirit of the thing, is to have everybody participate. And it's 10 weeks, so we'll go through I think I actually ended the first weekend of May or something like that. That's how far we'll go.
Cool. That's a good run. It's a good series. So the art and sci-fi, science fiction, and the director. You guys listening, check it out. We'll make sure you get links. It's free, like Robert said. It's fun. I always look forward to catching his talks as often as I can. Sometimes there's scheduling stuff, but you got 2 whole months. You got to at least get in for a couple of them. He's going to be discussing some classic movies with some legendary directors. But these talks are not the only thing he does. He's also a host of a radio show. I've listened to a little bit of an episode a while back. It's kind of hard to nail down the timing of it, but I guess I asked you the other day. You did tell me that you do post the episodes for like on demand for a couple weeks at a time.
Yeah.
So let's tell us about the show, the name, and where people can listen to it, and give us all the details.
Okay, yeah. It's the show is called The Music and the Movies, and it's produced by Voice of Vashon, which is our radio station here on Vashon Island. And it is it's about how much I really love music in film, and trying to understand that and how all that works. And so it's sort of a kind of a passion project of mine, or an obsessive project of some kind. And we try to go through different. It can be a genre. Like we did a science fiction episode that was specifically the sounds of outer space movies imagined by Hollywood in like the mid 20th century or so. So, if you think of like the electronic soundtrack of Forbidden Planet, that was in there, which is one of the quirkiest musical soundtracks in Hollywood, probably.
It actually popped in my head as soon as you started talking about the sounds of the mid-century. It's like Forbidden Planet.
Right. Yeah. But we can talk about an actor, we can talk about a director. I did one show that was all about the accordion. I started thinking, what do I like about it? What are some good accordion songs in movies? So it can range all over everything. I just did a 4-part series about the Beatles and film. And so each part was, John, Paul, George, Ringo, because each of them had an interesting, slightly different approach to film. We just recorded a couple of shows. One was about the 5 Oscar-nominated best scores of this year, and then another show about the scores of movies that did not get nominated for 2021 releases. We've done Western theme songs, we've done film noir, torch songs, really running the gamut, just of stuff that I love to talk about. And it is a radio show, so the deal is, it's not like a podcast where it can exist in perpetuity because of the music rights. So there's a lot of rules about that kind of stuff. So what they do is, after they actually broadcast it, it can be archived for 2 weeks online. So you have sort of this window of opportunity to get in there and listen to it after that. So I just, I post it on Facebook and on my website and whatnot. But gotta jump on it, I guess, when you can. But it's really fun. It's a blast to kind of sit there and just act like you're an old-fashioned disc jockey, from the 60s or something, just playing. And now we're going to listen to a little bit of this. Really, really fun. And so far there's been a good response to it. So The Music and the Movies. Yeah, that's the name of the show. a self-explanatory title, I think.
Yeah.
I thought I tried to come up with something, really clever, but then I thought, why not just call it what it is?
Call it what it is. Yep.
Maybe.
Are you doing it weekly?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, pretty much weekly, and then if I take a week off, we can repeat a show. But we've done almost 40 now in the last year or so. So we got a big backlog of things that we can repeat.
Okay. And what are they, like hour episodes, or are they?
Yeah, 1 hour.
Okay. And what is the station that you played on? Do they have a? And you said it's on Vashon. Tell us what actual station it is, but did they have a live stream on their site?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Voice of Vashon does have a live stream button that you click, and our show goes on Sunday nights at 7. That's when they debut, and then available for a couple weeks after that.
Okay.
So, yeah, everybody should have a radio show. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, or a podcast or something. It's fun.
Yeah,
it's important to have an outlet.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
very much.
Yeah, you guys know that.
Yeah, we're learning that. Like it kind of goes back to you mentioning during the pandemic and the importance and how Zoom has turned out to be a good thing. That's how we started.
Yeah.
If time was like tight, we both worked a lot and everything, and the pandemic allowed us to actually just start the show. We started right in the middle of it. 2020, 2021. It's almost
2020.
A year and a half ago. So we started right in the middle, and we've been doing it. And actually, we just got news this morning that we were actually nominated for a Rondo Award for Best Podcast. So that's exciting. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with the Rondos. So
yes, I have indeed heard of them. Yeah, that's cool.
We're hyped about that.
Did you get nominated for one particular episode, or for the whole run,
or just Best Podcast?
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's like 28 other nominees, but I'll take it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? We're a new show. We're both learning as we go, so I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
That
happy even to be nominated.
Never thought of. Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. That kind of the learning part kind of leads into my last big question for you. Neither one of us have background in journalism or anything, and we're both trying to develop our skills with interviewing people and stuff like that. What kind of tips or advice, being somebody that's done interviews at film festivals and everything, what kind of advice would you give for some rookies like us?
I was in the same boat many years ago, because nobody ever told me how to interview someone, and I never studied journalism either, even though I ended up in my life doing journalism. Although I think of myself more as a writer and a critic than a journalist, but I ended up, doing journalism. The only thing that I found for me is that, you wanted, I'm sure you guys do this already. You do your research and you make sure you're armed with some pretty good knowledge. But I was always of the mind that I would have some questions written down and ready, but once you'd gotten past the first one, I always thought it was better to let the conversation go in whatever direction it was going to go. I don't know. I just found that to be, I would rather, look at the person for one thing instead of looking at my notes. And you find out interesting things about people if you kind of let the conversation take on its own life. And that doesn't always work, because there are people who are checked out or whatever, and you have to keep coming back and prodding them. I mean, I've had that happen to me. But often, something kind of organic happens, and they start talking. And the only trick I can tell you that has been weirdly effective for me at times is that I noticed early on, this goes back to something that we were saying, I think before we started recording about the awkwardness sometimes of phone calls.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you don't jump in right away with a follow-up, and you allow a moment of awkwardness to happen, in other words, silence, the person that you're interviewing will start talking, either out of the anxiety of covering up this awkward moment of silence, or because you've given them a chance to breathe and maybe think of something that they hadn't thought of before. And it's really interesting what happens, because you will sometimes get like this follow-up observation that goes in a completely interesting direction. And maybe it's a story that they don't tell every time they talk to a journalist, because you can tell sometimes when they've told the stories 1,000 times. And it's kind of fascinating that has worked for me over the years. And when you watch interviews sometimes and the interviewer is just going rat-a-tat, like jumping in there practically before the person has finished their sentence. And I often wonder, if you just let this person breathe and let them go in like this weird direction that they might be nudging towards, you could get something good there. So that's the only like little trick that I have. But I gotta say it has sometimes worked. Let some air into the conversation. I don't know, you guys would know better. I mean, does podcasting, do you think does it allow for that kind of casualness, that you can develop something like that?
I think it sure does. Yeah. I mean, honestly, as you were just talking about it, I was thinking about late night talk shows. You watch Conan O'Brien or whatever it is. And of course, they're on a time limit, but it's kind of a shame because some of those people only have like 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and there's just not enough time there to let the conversation breathe. They're just like, okay, so you're promoting this? Oh, you were just in this? Cool. Okay, we'll see you later. And sometimes you're like, depending on the guest, I guess it's all right. But sometimes you're like, God, they just got warmed up, and then it's over, and I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about this or that topic. And so the podcast format is great. It's wonderful. It's nice being able to let it breathe. And as you were saying, you never know what direction it's going to go. I mean, we usually do have a list of subjects and topics and things that we want to bring up and whatnot. But I mean, one thing can bring up another, and we try to not be too strict with our show. I think people that listen kind of enjoy the format, or at least we, from what we've gathered, they're
definitely
cool
want to
with it.
Feel casual.
Yeah, we're casual. Yeah. We jump around a little bit. We might not always stay on a topic, but if we jump off onto something else, it's usually loosely related, at least.
Yeah. So. And that becomes part of the appeal of the show.
Yeah. One thing I get is like you say, let it breathe and let conversation go. I find myself, I will have my points, like you said, my points of topic of discussion, and I'll have a few questions, but more often than not, the guest will be speaking and it'll trigger an even better question. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, this is getting good. So it's definitely learning. And me being somebody who's not really a talker, I'm kind of a shy, reserved person. Like this whole the whole podcast thing has kind of gotten me out of my shell.
Likewise,
making me more comfortable speaking to people. So it's like I'm, like I say, just learning and taking notes and listening to other interviewers. And
that is one of the key things. When I watch interviewers, sometimes I can tell when they are not listening to what the person is saying. because you'll hear the interviewee say something that is like, oh, what was that? What? And you want to hear more about it, and you want somebody to follow up on it. But then the interviewer goes back to the list that he has in his lap instead of listening and just think and so that's absolutely part of it. That's part of letting it go where it is. You were talking about being sort of a shy person, and I've in my study of this subject, it seems like the role of an interviewer, it can be good for somebody who's more introverted, because I'm thinking of one of my heroes when I was a kid growing up was Johnny Carson, because I would like to stay up late and watch Johnny, and of course he was the king of late night talk shows, and he was by every account, he was incredibly shy. And it was if you got him at a party, he would be over in the corner, not talking to anyone. He just didn't really operate on that level. But when the camera went on and he had to talk to his guests and ask them interesting questions and make them comfortable and crack a joke when needed, he was just completely in his element. So it's a different kind of talent. Or whatever it is, and it's funny that even if you're somewhat reserved by nature, if you're a good listener and you're genuinely interested in the subject or the person, or curious about the person, and you've done a certain amount of research, it can allow those of us who are more reserved by nature to really kind of find a kind of a nice groove.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm pretty introverted, and I feel like maybe some other people can relate with this. It kind of takes a little bit of energy to turn it on, and when the camera comes on, to be the entertaining person you're trying to be, or whatever, do what you're trying to do. So maybe that's why some of us end up like sitting in the corner by ourselves, and because we know, like, all right, in 20 minutes I'm gonna have to kind of step it up a little bit and hype up my normal self or whatever, and it just drains you a little.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But we enjoy it, we still do it to ourselves. So
yeah. If you didn't get something out of it, you wouldn't keep at it,
Yeah.
See, I'm kind of different. I'm usually like terrified by the prospect of people get me to open up, but then when they do get me to, I love it. You know what I mean? It's like I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
It's weird. Know. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I don't know. I guess we all are a little bit.
Well, people think like if you have a podcast, or you do presentations, or you do music and things like that, that you don't have a problem talking in front of a few people. Like, you might be okay with talking in front of 100 people, but get shy when you're in a room with 3 people. I mean, at least that's my case. Like, I could step into a room, with a bunch of people around a table, and if they all just stop and stare at me, I'm going to be nervous. But yet I could perform in front of 100 people or whatever and be fine.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, but it does, because I mean, the more you read about actors, the more you'll hear about, people who are exactly like that. And they are very good. They can be brilliant on a stage or in front of a camera, but they're more awkward in the kind of smaller situations that you're talking about. Yeah, interesting subject. I just thought I'd follow up on something that Steve said, because I'm always interested in that.
Well, we probably took enough of your time. Before we do go, you've written some books. Would you like to mention them and tell people where they could find them?
Oh yeah, well, some of them, I guess the easiest way would be to just as you suggested earlier, check out my Amazon author page. I do have one of those, and I've got some links to things on my website as well. A couple of film books that I've written, and then Rotten, which is that zombie Western comic book, and a couple of other little items. But yeah, I hope to keep doing that too.
Right. So the best way to keep up on you and what you're up to is through the website.
Yeah, people still go to. I mean, websites are they still a thing? I don't know. I keep hearing that blogs are like totally outdated. So I don't know. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Citizen Horton. So I don't tweet enough, but I do sort of keep throwing stuff out there periodically. So that's another little tentacle that I have going, I guess.
Right. So the Scarecrow video thing, you have the radio show. Is there anything else you kind of got in the works down the pipeline that people should get excited for?
Not too much right now. I'll be I think that at Scarecrow we're going to inaugurate another series of talks, and we may do this in March too, where we're just going to talk about issues in film at the moment. The first one's going to be about the director Jane Campion, who's nominated for Power of the Dog this year, and talk about her career. Yeah, no, I think that's quite enough. I now just gotta find a way to make more money. Yeah, so I'll try to keep you posted on how that goes.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Money helps. I don't like the stuff, but we kind of need it.
Yeah.
Yep. So the art and sci-fi, science fiction, and the director, you guys head over to Scarecrow Video and sign up. You're probably gonna have to sign up. I know the other ones I've done, you have to sign up for each week. You can't just sign up for the whole series.
I think you can sign up for the whole series. Yeah.
Oh, can you? Okay.
Yeah, I think
I know they're doing a current one now. You got to sign up each week. The UFO.
Mm-hmm.
Can't remember what it's called, which has been a pretty good series too. People should go check out. I think they might have another week or two left. So
yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you for coming and chatting with us. And I'm definitely looking forward to the series. I'm gonna try to catch as many as I can. And I know Crypto will check it out.
I definitely will too. I got little ones, and so my time is kind of limited, but I'll definitely check out a few.
That's the thing. You could just put it on your phone and just listen, walk around the house doing your chores.
That's probably the best way for me to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you don't have to come to each. It's not like a real classroom situation. You don't have to come to each one. If you miss the first couple, or whatever, you can always drop by. And but yeah, thanks for highlighting that. And yeah, everybody's welcome. So please do come by.
All right, Robert Horton, thank you.
Yeah, thank you again for being on. We appreciate it.
Good talking to you guys.
We'll do this again sometime.
All right, I'm up for it.
Hey, this is Dr. Gangrene. You're watching the Steve. No, you're not. You're listening to the Steve and Crypto Show right here on whatever network you're on. I don't know what you're on. Don't ask me. I can't see what you're doing, but keep listening and tune in next week for more cool content on the Steve and Crypto Show.
Hey, we're back. Thanks to Robert Horton for hanging with us. Make sure you guys get signed up for that series, that talk series. Like I say, you don't have to do every episode, but it's fun. 2 p.m. on Saturdays, West Coast time. Let's figure out your time zone. I'm not doing the math for you.
There's definitely a few on there that I want to check out for sure. And I've never even been to Scarecrow Video. I want to check it out.
I've been meaning to go over there forever. But let's throw a little trivia question out there.
Yeah.
And we're still waiting for some answers for the last couple of weeks' questions. I don't think I've gotten any. Have you gotten any?
Not yet.
Messages?
No.
Come on, people.
Nope.
I want to send you all something.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the last couple episodes, and you'll hear them. I believe it's just the last two.
Yeah.
So 65 and 66. Go back and listen to those, and then just hit us up online with the answers. Throw it into the Facebook group or Instagram, somewhere. Twitter, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So today's question What 2006 horror film about an alien plague was directed by Guardians of the Galaxy director James Gunn?
Ooh.
It's a great fucking movie.
Oh, I think I know it now. Yeah.
You might. We'll see. But yeah, that's the question. Make sure you guys hit us up on social media. Tell them where to find us on social media again real quick before we close out the episode.
All right, I'll tell you the answer once we're done recording, and if I get it right, you can send me a sticker pack, okay?
Okay. But where can people respond to us?
All right, you can respond to us on Instagram and Twitter at the Steve Strout, at CryptoZoo88. We also have the Facebook group, the Steve and Crypto Show. Just look us up, you'll find it. Come be a member.
Yeah, join that. Jump on our Patreon. Patreon.com/SteveCrypto. Get some exclusive content. If you're a patron, you could set your own subscription price. And like I said, it all helps. Anything from a freaking $1 a month to $1 million. You get $1 million, so you could just be part of the show. You're on the show.
Yeah. Anytime you want to be on,
this is your show. We'll even put your name. We'll even put your name on the fucking show.
You could hit us up at like 10 o'clock at night, like, hey, time to record.
Like the Steve, Crypto, and Magical Benefactor Show. But yeah, do that. Hit us up on Buy Me a Coffee, which I don't think I mentioned earlier, and I should have. buymeacoffee.com/SteveCrypto. You could go and drop a tip anytime. And I think that is going to wrap this week. I think next week might be the week we finally kick off the horror host series. But speaking of horror hosts, go vote for your favorite one at the Rondo Awards.
That's right. And be sure to vote for your third favorite podcast while you're at it.
RondoAward.com. Get in there and vote. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can still go vote on the Fangoria Chainsaw Awards too. I think there's a little bit of time left.
That's funny that you mentioned that, because when you were talking about the Rondo Awards earlier, I was thinking about other awards that I've seen over the years, and that one came to mind, Chainsaw Awards.
Yep, that's still happening too.
Cool.
I mean, we're not nominated in that one yet.
One day.
Probably not, but
fingers crossed one day.
Yeah. I'm not gonna cross my fingers that long.
Set the bar lower.
They might start cramping, man. I'm not crossing that long. But yes, next week is 68.
Yep.
Holy shit. We're getting closer to 69.
The next 2 episodes I'm gonna be tempted to rhyme. You're gonna have to cut me off.
I will. I'll mute you. But yes, we have been the Steve and Crypto Show. We thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks again for listening to episode 67, and we're